You're gonna see this same intro and outro for like the next couple videos because I did not film an intro and outro for the last 2 videos. Anyways, actually 3 videos. Ooh. Oh gosh, okay. I'm gonna switch my arm here because it is hurting. But anyways, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Jordan and I am so happy you're here. Today's video is going to be the long-awaited eyeshadow palette declutter. So this includes some singles, but it's mostly palettes. I have really decluttered my eyeshadow palette collection over the last few years. I wouldn't say I have as much as I used to. This isn't like a huge declutter for eyeshadows, but I am also showing you my eyeshadow collection as I go. And then I kind of figure out if I'm going to keep it or if I'm going to declutter it and pass it along. So that's just kind of how this video is going to go. But I love watching these types of videos. And I know everyone else on YouTube also loves watching these types of videos. So I thought it would be a great video to film and share with you all and kind of give you some recommendations on just the kind of products that I really like using, what I use on a daily basis, and some products that maybe I liked before, but now it's not working for me. To give a little context, I do have a carmine allergy, but it's only around my eye area. I feel like I'm so repetitive in this, but I have to say it all the time in different videos because it just gives you guys some context of why I can't use every eyeshadow palette out there, which totally sucks. But there are a lot of companies nowadays that are leaning more into vegan eye products. The face products, they don't have to be vegan. That does not give me an allergic reaction. It's just around the eyes. My eyes get really itchy. They kind of swell like a little bit. So it's not fun, and it sometimes lasts for like a week. So if I can avoid using an eyeshadow with carmine in it, I will. A lot of these palettes in my collection, you'll see that now they are vegan. I always have to make sure I have a vegan eyeshadow palette. And I guess just to see some more recommendations, and maybe some of the palettes I'm going to mention are palettes that you never even thought of buying, but they actually are really, really good. So just to kind of give some exposure onto different eyeshadow palettes and single eyeshadows and everything. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Hello everybody. Okay, today is the big day. I am doing an eyeshadow palette declutter. This whole container, it's like a sliding container from the Container Store, and then one of the Home Edit bathroom labels. And there are so many eyeshadow palettes in here that I don't use and I don't reach for. I already know pretty much which ones I'm going to get rid of, but I think I just need to organize it. So I am going to declutter some, but I don't know how many I'm going to declutter. It's more just like an overall organization. This is really heavy. It's really the only area where I can put this in because there's also just so much in it. Not that my bathroom's small by any means, but if you have like a smaller, like under the sink space, these containers from the Container Store are really nice for eyeshadow palettes. Pretty much filled to the top, but it's also not totally organized well, so I think that's why it's mostly overflowing. But I also just reach for the same exact palette over and over again. I'm trying to try some so-called new ones in my collection. They're not really that new, but I just haven't tried them in a while. How many times can I say try? But I'm just trying to try more. I'm gonna take this out and we're gonna go through it. Here's the whole thing. Let me just show you the side because it is so big and long. But it is just a great container. These are usually kept in the middle of the store with like a whole bunch of clear containers. So if you see a lot of like sliding ones like this, that's where it is. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about 2 palettes that I already had on my vanity that I have been using. So I'm not going to declutter these. These are my mom's. These are by Sydney Grace. There is a difference between the 2. I don't know how much it will come off camera, but this top one right here is meant for light to medium skin tones. And then this bottom right here is meant for deeper skin tones. I don't know if there's a palette in between, but I have 2 right here. And these are the Enduring Love palettes, and the shade names are the same, and some of the shades are the same, but some of the shades in the deeper palette look deeper than they do in like fair light to medium palette, because again, it's just based on skin tone. But this is a vegan eyeshadow formula, which is why I'm using it in the first place. I'm gonna move this back a little bit. It is filled to the brim. Let me show you right here. Here's what we're working with. Now there's some eyeshadow palettes in here, like that eyebrow kit right there, because I just needed to put it somewhere for the time being. So this first palette, ooh, got a little dirty. This was a holiday palette from Anastasia, or ABH, I always say ABH. Came out last year. And I have to say, it is such a good formula, and it's vegan, so that was like a really big selling point for me. When I found out that this was vegan, I basically happy danced in Sephora, because a lot of her horizontal palettes are not vegan, like some of her older ones, and the fact that this one was, I was like, absolutely, that is coming home with me. Because this is a palette that kind of goes for a lot of different skin tones, there are some that are just a little bit deep for me. They are very pigmented. Also, this is not what I'm getting rid of, but I just want to show you because I saw it being talked about sometimes on YouTube, but not all the time, and I realized it was limited edition. I think they actually kept it a little bit past Christmas time, but this is just a great formula. And I know that she just came out with a palette in this similar packaging, just minus the 2 cheek products. That one is not vegan, unfortunately, which sucks because I really like the color story in there, and there were a lot of shades that I would use. But right now I am enjoying this, and I kind of use this on and off. This sparkling amber shade is so pretty. In general, like, this formula is amazing. It's not like her other older palettes. This is a completely different formula, and honestly, I think it's way better. Now these 2 cheek products, I think I tried this the other day, Grapefruit, this blush. It looked a lot better on me being self-tan, but when I'm pale, it is so bright and vibrant that like it does not look good against my skin tone. So I'll just have to keep using this as I self-tan. And then the Saddle bronzer, is that a bronzer? I think that's a bronzer, or maybe just a deeper blush, but it's not the right tone for me, so because this is vegan, I can definitely use this on my eyes, so that's probably how I'll do it. But just want to show that in case anyone did end up grabbing that. Such an amazing formula, and if you didn't grab that, definitely try out her new palette if you can use non-vegan eye products. This is an Ulta Beauty Z palette. They still sell them. This is the large one, but what it's filled with is ColourPop single shadows. So I bought all of these. This is actually a Sephora contour shade right here, and I bought these during the early pandemic, and I was still working at Ulta at the time, so I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna use all of these. I'm a total glitter girl. You will figure that out very soon. But then I stopped working at Ulta, and then I got into jobs where it's not like colorful makeup wasn't allowed, it's just more neutral eyeshadows were definitely more appropriate. I think the most colorful I'll get is like a green or even sometimes a pink. I just need to figure out a way to use these. A lot of these glitters are very colorful. I don't even know if it's really doing it justice on camera, but these are like duochrome glitters, I think, and they're so sparkly. The couple times that I have used these though, they have irritated my eyes a little bit, so I have to be really careful about the placement going forwards. But there are some eyeshadow singles I've not even touched. This gray one I think is so pretty, but I'm like, I don't even know if that's gonna look good against my skin tone, to be honest, so I think I'll just have to use it as like a blending type of shade to make it more smooth. I also think that this shade is so pretty, but again, haven't used it. I really like this shade. Some of these shades are discontinued. Getting this Z palette, I had to put the magnets on the back. Oh, you can tell how much I used that shade. This is one of my favorite shades. It does fade a little bit, but I also noticed that with some other shades that aren't ColourPop, so maybe it's just me and the eye primer that I'm using, I don't know. But that is one of my favorite shades. It's like a matte brown, but with a silver glitter. It's so pretty, but when you actually apply it to the eyes, you don't see the glitter at all. But it's just a really nice shade. Besides the fading. This one I'm very happy about. Again, not decluttering. We'll get there, we'll get there. This is the Violet Voss Pro eyeshadow palette in Taupe Notch. It's been sitting in my collection for a while because I didn't know if it was vegan or not. I don't think Sephora sells too much of Violet Voss anymore. Not that they're like completely out, but I just know that the amount of products on the website and in store have definitely dwindled, I think, since the pandemic. And I just checked this morning again because I know I checked another time and I only saw it pop up on Poshmark and eBay and Mercari, and then I scrolled down a little bit this morning to Violet Boss's website, and I know that sometimes she'll keep palettes on there that have been discontinued, so I thought that was the case with this, but you can still buy this on Violet Boss's website. And I remember I really liked her formula, and this is vegan, so I am very happy. That definitely made my day today, because anyone who does have a carmine allergy, in general, finding eyeshadow palettes, you can be very limited, especially with neutrals, because so many neutral shades have carmine in it, whether you would think it would or not. And a lot of colorful shades, not all of them, but some of them have carmine in it, and some of them don't. In general, it's not the easiest to find vegan eyeshadows. It has been a little bit easier in the past couple years, but of course you want to actually like the colors that you're buying. So that's what I mean. It's just a little bit more limited. I'm keeping this palette. Just show you all the palettes. This is my most used palette. This is the ABH Norvina Volume 4. Love this palette. I've used this palette on so many different occasions, and you would not know that it came from this palette. It's just so good. This is the Volume 1 palette, and I've debated actually getting rid of this because I'm just not using it as much, and I think if I were still working in retail at Ulta, I probably would, because there's just so much color going on. I don't even know anyone that would take this, to be honest, but I think I'm going to declutter this because I'm just not using it, and a lot of the tones I don't think look great against my skin tone. It was a little hard because, again, it's a vegan palette. All of these in the collection are vegan. Mainly the reason why I keep them, because it's what I got. So this is Volume 2. This was the first palette I bought. This is one of my favorite palettes, even though it's so colorful. I feel like whenever I am craving to do something colorful, I always go to this palette because it has everything that I need. They did just come out with a Volume 6 palette, and I'm like, oh, that is so pretty. A lot of neon shades. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love that palette. To be realistic, I'm not wearing a lot of color nowadays. Even on the weekend, I'm like, yeah, I can use color on the weekend, but then get to the weekend, I'm like, no, I'm gonna go neutral. So just trying to figure that out, but I'm definitely keeping this one. It looks like I barely touched it, but I actually just clean up the in-betweens a lot, so if I didn't, this would be a lot dirtier. But A2, this neon yellow, is one of my favorites. And then I use D3 a lot, B4, B5, B3, C4. I'd say those are my favorite shades. And this has a black in there, which is good, but I noticed that this one specifically, times I've worn it, it has kind of crumbled a little bit throughout the day. That's the only thing about that one shade, but other than that, with those palettes specifically, if I talk weird, I have my Invisalign trays in. If you hear me talk a little bit weird, I have to put that disclaimer in every video because I can hear it when I talk. All of the Norvina palettes in the big size, the ones I just showed, you can literally create an eyeshadow look, whether colorful or neutral, in less than 5 minutes. They are so easy to blend because they are pigments. They're not regular eyeshadows like this would be. Pigments are formulated different. They're just different overall. You want to be careful when you do use them around the eye area, but these palettes are actually for the face and body. I just found that out with Volume 6. I was like, oh, this is face and body. That makes sense because it's neon. And then I looked at all the other ones. I'm like, oh, they're all face and body. I did not know that. Fun fact. So easy to create looks with these, even the most colorful, even the most neutral. You could use 2 shades and it looked like you used 5. I mean, these are great palettes, and I know they're expensive, but they're so worth it. They are worth every single penny. I mean, the Volume 4, that pinky one, I use literally all the time. Most of what you see on my eyes, I'm most likely using that palette. So I highly recommend it. Definitely get your hands on it. These ones are a little bit older. I recommend it strongly. Especially if you're a makeup artist, those are great shades to work with. Moving on, I could talk about those all day because I love them. This is the Morphe and Maddie Ziegler collab palette, the Imagination palette. So this one wasn't claimed as vegan, but when I did look at all the ingredients, there was no carmine in any of them. Came out, I think, in 2020. But I've been slowly trying out different palettes that I think would have carmine in them, but they just don't. I usually don't buy non-vegan palettes, but each time I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's so pretty. And I actually did recreate that look one time when I worked at Ulta. It was so pretty. I got so many compliments. They were like, that must be the Maddie palette. I'm like, you're exactly right. It was so easy to create. Yeah, I just need to play around with some of these a little bit more. One of my favorite shades is Butterfly Fantasy. That is just a great shade to blend out shades in the crease. It is beautiful. It's a matte shade. Maddie Girl, I like that peach one. I like 5. She Insists. I think I've used that one too. The shimmer and glitter ones in here are more like toppers, so I just wouldn't go into it expecting that you're gonna get like the full pigment. Keep those in mind when you're creating looks with this palette, but it's a really nice palette. Here are these Harry Potter and Ulta Beauty palette collabs. Also came out in 2020. I'm not super into Harry Potter anymore, so I'm going to pass these along. Now I have a lot of friends who are very into Harry Potter, but I know well, maybe someone would use this palette, but I know definitely not the blue palette, so I'm still gonna pass these along and see if any of my friends would want those. This one is sad to me. This is a ColourPop Mint to Be palette. First of all, I love the color mint. One time I opened this, all of these fell out onto my bathroom floor, and I don't know if I put it in a correct order. I think this is a correct order, or at least there's 1 or 2 that are in the wrong spot. But I bought it because I love mint, and sometimes I really do crave to wear some green eyeshadows. I bought it and I barely used it, but now I'm looking at it, I think this is like a very good neutral shade to put on the lid, so I'm gonna have to actually reach for that. I'm very close to decluttering this, but I want to try out that shade first and see how it wears and performs. So if it doesn't, oh, but I also want to try play it cool. Dang it. Okay, I'm going to keep this palette, but I'm going to try it out, and if it doesn't work, then I'm going to declutter it. Oh gosh. This is a Becca and Jaclyn Hill collab palette. You can tell how old it is because it's basically turning yellow. Basically rubbed off, but it's the Champagne Collection face palette, and my mom had this in her collection for a little bit, so I actually have not used it, but I can't really get rid of it. You would see in my other declutters I was a lot more ruthless. I don't know about eyeshadows again because a lot of these are vegan. I'm like, I can't get rid of it because I'm limited. But this is a face palette, so besides the point, I don't really have an issue getting rid of like sentimental makeup items because I'm like, if it's sitting there and I'm not using it, it's gotta go. But this one, I kind of forgot I had in here, so I do need to actually try it when I am self-tan because a lot of these colors, I think you can still pick these up with like, well, not pick them up in the store, but I think you can still get these with a lighter hand and make it work. But I know that my mom and I would use this only during the summer when we were both a little bit more tanned. I need to try it, but she definitely hit pan on Prosecco Pop right here. This is Champagne Pop. So Champagne Pop didn't really work for our skin tones. We're a little bit more fair, but again, I'm self-tan, although I look light in the camera. But yeah, Prosecco Pop definitely works for my mom really nicely, and I know that Smashbox has accumulated some of Becca's products because Becca is no more, which is really sad. I still hear people talk about it to this day. It's been around for a long time, but I think it really just says like how much Becca made a great impact on the beauty industry. I mean, they came out with some big products. I mean, they're still up to this day, so even though that they're gone, such good products. But I think Smashbox actually accumulated some of the pressed highlighters. I think you still might be able to get that highlighter like in the actual single. So if you're still interested in that, definitely check out Smashbox. Anyway, moving on. KVD Vegan Beauty. This is a palette that came out in 2020 or 2021. I think they've just recently discontinued it, if I'm not mistaken. This looks so weird online because it is so flat. Like, you see that. It almost doesn't look real, and every single time I go into it, I'm like, is this a picture? Or, I don't know, it still like kind of trips me out each time I look at it. I wouldn't say that this is the best formula I've tried. Some of the shades I have used do work. I really like this shade right there. I think I've mostly tried these 2 shades, and I've tried some of the matte shades, but it's like I remind myself I need to use it, but I'm gonna put it in the maybe pile because I'm just not sure. I just don't reach for it, even though it's vegan. I know that, but I'm just not reaching for it. I think it's really just the way the packaging is. If it weren't so flat, it didn't look like a picture, I think I would reach for it more. It's just an interesting palette. That's a maybe. I have a couple of Pat McGrath palettes in here. These are actually my mom's, so not getting rid of those. But I have Mothership 1 right here. So what I've basically been doing is just using the topper shades. Unfortunately, Pat McGrath is not vegan, so I can't buy a palette and use it. But my mom has a lot of her palettes that are in this packaging. Sometimes I'll use this topper shade. It has a blue shift to it. Again, all about that glitter. And then this is the Midnight Sun palette, and this topper shade I've hit pan on. It's one of my favorite topper shades of all time. If this were to be in a single, probably by multiples. Let me swatch it actually. It's not like any other topper that I've used. Kind of see the reflectiveness there. When I swatch it, it's really clear. You can kind of see some sparkles. Yep. There we go. Super weird angle, but you get the gist. It's mostly silver sparkle, and that looks really good against my skin tone. Gold does too, but it just has to be the right tone. But there's really not much of a base color to this. I mean, there kind of is, but kind of not. Any single time I need to level up an eyeshadow look, I put that on, and it looks like I got my makeup professionally done. It is seriously like the most beautiful shade I've ever seen in my life. But Pat McGrath, if you are watching, please make that a single because I will buy multiples. I will seriously be using that until I use that up. Because I don't want to like buy the whole $100 palette. I think it's like $129. So I can't even use half these shades because they have carmine in them. I can really only use that shade. Like a lot of these, like even this green, I think might have some carmine in it because I've used it before and it made my eyes a little itchy. Anyway, moving on. This is a ColourPop Wild Nothing palette. It's one of my favorite ColourPop eyeshadow palettes and formulas. Here it is. Very, very pretty. I actually really like the Super Shock shade in Spirited. Then I also like Vagabond and what's this? Come Together. Those two shades are good crease shades. They're a little bit warmer than they come out versus like looking in the palette, but they're really nice. And then I also love Top Down and Morningside if I'm doing a peach look. I've tried Sultan. I think that's how you pronounce it. This shade, it's not Super Shock, but it's a really good one. I'll use Crystal Cove. I haven't used this palette in a while, but I was using this for like months straight at one point because it's just so nice. Every single time I look at it is so pretty. Definitely my kind of tones. I don't have the outer plastic carton that came on this, but this is an ABH glitter set with glitter glue. And I remember I really wanted this when it came out for one holiday. I think maybe in 2020 or 2019. And then I didn't get it because I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't really use loose glitter pigments that much. It's usually in a pressed version that I'll use it more. And then I saw this at Marshall's the following holiday. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get this. And I've only used it like 2 or 3 times. I think it's really just the packaging. Like, I really just don't use glitter pigments. And there is a difference between all of them. But if you are looking at all of them at the same time, they look exactly the same until you swatch them. But even sometimes on the eye, they look exactly the same. So I'm going to, unfortunately, pass this along because I'm like, not using it. I stare at it and I'm like, I need to use that at some point. And then I go pick something else. So this just needs to go. Good thing I did not pay full price for it. You know, I find a lot of times when I watch some people's declutter videos, they say like, oh, and nothing against the stores. I worked at TJ Maxx, but I notice a lot of people will buy a lot of beauty products from TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And then it always ends up in their declutter. They're like, yeah, I didn't end up using this at all. And I'm like, there's a pattern here. I don't know what the case is, but I think even though, again, I've worked for TJ Maxx for like over 2 years in the past, everything that comes in is brand new, just overstock. But I think, in my opinion, it doesn't go for all products there, but I think sometimes it loses its value when it ends up in stores that have crazy discounts. That happens to me a lot. Like if I see something on like a crazy discount, I'm like, nah. I don't know if anyone else finds that or feels like that too, but that's just something I've come to realize with a lot of people. This is a Pretty Vulgar Nightingale eyeshadow palette. This came in like I think a BoxyCharm or some subscription box that my mom got, and I did a video on it. I've used it maybe a couple times since, and it is vegan, and these are the kind of colors I'm looking for. I feel like this was definitely in like one of my last eyeshadow palette declutters, and I was like, I'm gonna use this, and then I did not. I'm going to declutter this, but I want to try it out first. Like, actually remind myself to try it out because these are colors that I've been looking for that are vegan, and I just kind of forgot about it. I don't really like the name Pretty Vulgar, but just gonna try out the eyeshadows, so that's kind of like a maybe. So this is a very old KVD product, not sold anymore. The older formula was amazing, but really don't reach for these. Like whenever I want to do blue, I don't reach for the blues. Whenever I want to do green, I don't reach for the green. This hairspray shade is so beautiful. I don't know what it is, I just don't reach for it. So I'm just gonna Give this one back to my mom. Here's another Violet Boss palette. I've had a hard time getting rid of this because it was expensive. This is the Best Life palette. So you have all like your matte shades, some are shimmers, some are glitters, but here are like the actual glitters. These are pressed glitters. This Success shade right here, that's a red glitter. I actually taped over this because it has carmine in it. I checked all of the shade ingredients and I think some of these also have carmine in it. Definitely not the blues. I think I kind of forgot about this palette. When I did use these glitters, like these are beautiful glitters, but there's definitely a certain way to use them because I've used it and it would look good, but then other times I've used it, it would not look good. It's not a completely vegan palette, but I think to pass it along. Here's another Violet Boss palette. This reminds me of the new Care Bear palette, but this is the, I don't know which one this is. Oh, the Rainbow Eyeshadow palette. The colors in here are really pretty, especially the blues. I love blue, but I am not reaching for it. So I'm gonna see if my mom still wants this, or maybe she doesn't, but whatever it is, I'm gonna run it by her, but it'll most likely be passed along. Some of these are face palettes, so I'm just not gonna talk about those. Here is a Natasha Denona 5-pan palette. I don't know if this, no, I did check the shades because that shimmer glitter shade is taped. But I'm gonna check the ingredients again. This is a camel palette. I don't know if this one is still available. I feel like these may not go against my skin tone that great, but I feel like this one might. I think they're just a little bit too warm for me. Like I most likely would not use that lighter shimmer shade. It's just a little peachy for me. Like I love peach, but just the tone of that I don't think is right. I'm going to revisit that on Sephora or her website, whichever one has it, if it's still available. I think that was my mom's, so I definitely did not buy that. This one I'm going to get rid of. This is the Nabla Cutie palette. They have a few cutie palettes. This is one of them. This is number 2 and it's coral one. So I think that this is a beautiful palette. It's really, really pretty. The pink tones in here are really pretty. I've kept it because I'm like, I just need to try it out more, but honestly, I haven't tried this out a lot, but even in the first time trying it, the quality is not that great. Tried to buy other Nabla palettes before and still the quality is not that great. A lot of the shadows come out very patchy, which sucks because it's a vegan formula. This is vegan. The other ones I bought are vegan too. So it just sucks sometimes because like you're trying to find a vegan formula, but you just found one that does not work at all. And all other palettes have pretty colors, but this one was not good quality. I'm gonna pass it along, but I'm very cautious about when I pass things along because I don't want to come off like, hey, it wasn't good quality for me. Maybe that's just me. I'm used to using like Pat McGrath and other high-end formulas, and I've used Natasha Denona. I feel like when you use those two brands especially, not the easiest to try and go back to something a little less luxury. I mean, I still use all high-end for the most part, but when you use certain formulas and you try to go back to like something less, it's a little different. But I think this might be better off for someone who is a beginner. I think you could still make this work. It's just for me, it wasn't my favorite formula. I was looking for this one. I thought I lost it. Okay, so I have 2 KVD eye palettes. So one is New Pop and one is Glam Rock. So New Pop, beautiful shades. Really only bought it for that coral shade though. I love coral. And then this shade is also really nice for transition shades, but I don't think they sell this anymore. I think this was literally just discontinued on Sephora and Ulta. I don't know about KVD's site to be honest, but I just know recently I've seen these on sale. I'm going to declutter them because I barely use them. I realized that with a lot of palettes, I'm just not super into regular shimmers. In some cases I am, like some of the BBH formula, some of the shimmers are a lot better than the ones that I've tried in the past. I'd rather go for glitter, and like of course there are different types of glitter press formulas and stuff. But I just realized that I'm just like not into the shimmers because I'm like, it's just not enough. And sometimes they make my eyelid look old and creepy, so glitter does not do that, but sometimes the shimmers will. And that's the same right here. This one is a shimmer shade too. It's a little bit pinkier. So I'm just gonna pass this along. It's still good. This is Glam Rock, and this one is definitely my most used. This one is my favorite out of the 2. There's such a big dent in here because you literally have to like push your finger in there to get not only the product, well the product will go on your finger if you just swatch it, but it will not go on your eye. No matter which eye base you use, will not transfer onto your eyelid. So you really have to like actually dig your finger in there to make it transfer. Again, this like blue shimmer shade just not my favorite formula. Like, I don't think I even swatched it, or maybe I did, but I didn't actually put it on my eyes. I'm like, I just know myself, I'm not going to use that one. This is also a good transition shade. I think I used this one a couple times, but I think I'll keep this one. I'm gonna declutter the other one. 3 single shadows left. I did do like a combined eye declutter with some other products, so I think I already went through those. This is a Chanel Ombre Premier Longwear Powder Eyeshadow in 16 Blue Jean Satin shade. Yeah, you know what? I think it's the satin ones. I said shimmer. Well, some of the shimmers, but it's a pretty blue. This was my mom's. I didn't buy this. She just gave it to me to try, but I'm like, it's just not my favorite formula, so I'm gonna give that one back to her. This is from Kiko Milano. I've had this for a long time. I studied abroad in 2017, and that is exactly when I bought Kiko products, because that was really the only beauty store that they had in Florence and around Italy was Kiko Milano. So I don't know if this is vegan though, but it's a high pigment wet and dry eyeshadow in Umbretto. I was able to pick out single shades, so I don't know if that's actually the name or that's part of the product name, but it's pretty. I just don't reach for it, so I'm gonna pass this one along. Like, yeah, it's old, but like it was barely used. I think it's fine. I think society like really puts this like big thing like, oh, you've had that for 2 years, you better throw it out. Did anyone forget that we had like the Urban Decay Naked palette for like 10 plus years and it was still good? It didn't like expire necessarily. I think we just need to like chill on the years, because I've had a lot of these for like 4 years. And they haven't expired. They're still as good as I bought them. A little tangent right there, but I think we all need to chill. This is a duplicate. I have another Pat McGrath single eyeshadow. This one is vegan. It's in the shade Statuesque Dolls eyeshadow. I actually don't know if this is available anymore. I don't know why I bought 2, but I did. I think it was because like, oh my gosh, it's vegan. It was on sale and it's neutral. The one I have open, this is still taped. The one I have open, I actually don't use that one that much, which is sad. It's not like my favorite neutral brown shade, but it does work. I just need to work with it a little bit more is really all it is. That was it for my eyeshadows. Eyeshadow palettes, I should say. So I'm keeping 15 and I am decluttering 10. So there wasn't a lot going on. What is in the rest of here are just face palettes. So I'm just gonna organize this. You'll eventually see the face palettes that I have in here, but let's organize. Oh gosh, that is so dirty inside. Oh, you know what? Some of the Norvina palette, I was like, what happened to the packaging? Some of the stuff actually ended up in here. I don't even know how that happened. Dang, oh, this thing. Okay, it's just this Chanel. It's fine, it landed on a carpet. I'm just going to vacuum this and wipe it down. All right, I got the Shark vacuum. I love this vacuum. Ew, dirty. Okay, that looks so much better. Let me show you. I didn't, oh my gosh, another palette just fell. Very, very clean. I did not show it before. It was quite dirty, so just showing you how deep this drawer goes. The end is right there. Really don't have a plan of how I'm organizing this, which doesn't sound like me, but I'm basically just going to put the palettes that I use the most first. I used to organize it by brand, and maybe I can do that and just kind of see how it works out. I don't know. So some of what you'll see over here is actually the face palettes that I took out that I did not go over yet. Oh, okay. That can go here. Yeah, that works. I'm just putting them down. Nothing is really set in stone. Okay. That will come out. Oh, that's gonna bother me. Okay. This Anastasia. No, that's right. I can't fit it that way. Dang it. Maybe I should just keep... Well, I have the 2 Sydney Graces over there. Maybe I should just keep this up here. Figure this one out later. And put Natasha there. Okay, so it's basically going like eye and then face, because I don't use the face palettes that often, but I do have some that I need to try for my mom. I'm just not going to put them in here because I may forget about them, so those need to be up here. I'm going to actually put this in my other sideboard. I just think I might get a little bit lost in there. These are some eyelashes. I think I'm actually going to put them downstairs on my filming tray because I have tried them. I actually tried it first without the magnetic lash eyeliner, and it actually magnetized in my lashes, which I thought was weird and seen backwards. And then when I tried a lash eyeliner, they would not magnetize. It was so weird. But I also did realize, like, well, these are dramatic, but they look a little bit more natural than some other ones. These are very dramatic on me. I don't know, I'd rather have like a more natural looking lash pair because I do not wear false lashes. So I'm gonna put that one downstairs. This is the iMethod Beauty Brow Kit that I did a video with and giveaway with back in April. So I'm gonna keep that in here because they're kind of a chunky box. And then this also goes with the eyelashes. This is just an extra eyeliner. I'm gonna put that down there. Here is a sample of the Born This Way concealer. I know Swan is my shade. I have it in my facial wear. I don't know why this was in here though. Swan is my winter shade. Porcelain actually might match my self tan right now. Nude I think might be too deep. I'll have to try this. So I'll put that in here. So that is all of what I am keeping. So there's really not many eyeshadow palettes at all, besides the 3 that I have over there. Yeah, this is actually pretty good. And what I like about these kind of containers is that I can see everything that's in here. I try to find containers that are my style. Even though I like the colorful ones, I try to keep it like neutral and classy, kind of like how Tati was saying in one of her recent videos. I'm like, girl, I feel you on wanting all the colorful hot pink ones, but you're also trying to be classy and elegant. I totally understand where she's coming from. I try to like make everything as easy to see as possible. That totally just fell back. Yep, well, that's fine. It's still in the same order. And then I'm going to take all my decluttered ones and put them in a certain area. That is it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload more beauty, health, and Jesus content. Definitely like this video if you love declutters, but definitely let me know in the comments if you would love to see the next declutter series that I do on my channel. I hope you guys are having a great day. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!